Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Make Your Own AR Christmas Card Workshop. Happy holidays in advance. Just before we get started, I just want to make sure that the audio and video is coming in with no issues. If everyone could just confirm for me. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Yeah, we have a lot of people joining us today, so we'll wait a few minutes for everyone to join. While we do that, I'll mention a few housekeeping items. You guys have already seen the chat option, so if you have any questions or anything, any comments, please utilize the chat option. We have some of our experts that are in the meeting today as well, so they'll be able to answer any questions. We also have a questions tab as well. If you have more technical questions, please share them there. We will answer them as we go through the workshop, and at the end of the workshop, we'll have a Q&A portion as well. And lastly, there is a poll section. I will post a poll later on in the workshop. Please do participate in the poll. It helps us out a lot. And just a reminder that this session is recorded, and everyone who registered will receive a recording of the session through email. While we wait, I know we have a global audience today, so I'm interested to know where everyone's signing in from. Houston, New York City, nice. Florida, oh, I wish I was there. I'm in Toronto myself, so I don't really like the cold a lot. Oh, we got a Toronto fellow, Mark. Yeah, I wish, Charles. I wish I could come down. Oh, Vietnam, nice. I've always that's on my bucket list. I'm definitely gonna travel there very soon. Denver, nice. Perfect. All right, so we'll get started here. Again, thank you guys for joining our workshop today. I'll give you a brief intro about myself. My name is Roham. Don't try to say my last name. It's okay. I've had 7+ years of experience with business development and sales, and just a little bit about my personal passions. I used to be a semi-pro soccer player. For those of us not in North America, football player. And I'm your host for today's workshop. We also we brought out the big guns today for you guys for this workshop. We also have Jerry, who is the head of education here at Circuit Stream. He's a game development and AI expert with more than 10 years of experience using his skills to create games and XR training and simulations. He has an undergraduate degree in game development, a graduate in interaction design, and a master's degree in computer science. So, like I mentioned, we definitely brought out the big guns for you guys today. Just a little bit about the agenda for today. The introduction section will take around 10 to 15 minutes. Then we'll move on to handing it off to Jerry, who will go through the technical session of making your own AR Christmas card. We'll have a short wrap-up session and share some resources and information with you guys. And at the end of the session, like I mentioned, we will have some time for Q&A. So please be sure to post those questions in the questions tab of our on the right-hand side of your screen. Now, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about who we are as a company. We're an educational company founded back in 2015. Our founders noticed a gap in personalized training and education space in the immersive technology or XR industry. To date, we have supported over 40,000 individual learners in XR and in Unity. These learners have taken part in our various workshops, such as the one we're hosting today, courses and webinars over the years. And this is really a milestone that we're really proud of here at Circuit Stream. What we have is a global team of industry experts who are passionate about accelerating the AR and VR industry through education. As you can see on screen, we have team members across the globe, and this allows us to accommodate students across multiple zones and around the world. Circuit is also a Unity training and channel partner. Uh, in terms of how you become a Unity partner, the approval is based on the expertise of an organization, their focus on quality of education, and the demonstrated success of their students. Now, for those of you who are familiar, who are unfamiliar with Unity, they have created one of the most robust and extensive development engines on the market, which we'll shed a little bit more light on very shortly. I want to mention that our instructors at CircuitStream maintain the highest level of certification that is offered by Unity. I'm also very proud to announce that as of this year, CircuitStream has partnered with some of the world's most prestigious universities to offer our educational programs. For example, our XR Development with Unity program is now offered to continuing education departments by all three of the institutions you see on screen. And we do also have plans to offer our interaction design and prototyping for XR program here in early 2020. Um, we are also launching a new partnerships, well, few new partnerships with more schools through North America. So stay tuned for that. And in terms of our background and a little bit of our experience, who have we worked with? This is a question that we get all the time. So we've trained professionals and teams for some of the largest organizations in the world. I mean, Apple, Meta, Hershey's, and even the US Navy, just to name a few for you guys. We work with organizations of all sizes, large or small, right down to the individual learner. And we focus on the Unity engine. Now, what is Unity exactly? If you've seen this interface before, then you're most likely familiar with the engine. And if you've seen this muffin clicker game that's on screen right now, then you've probably been through our C# scripting fundamentals course already. But for those of you who are not familiar, Unity is a free development engine. It's a program that can be used to create both 2D and real-time 3D content, which would also include your augmented reality and virtual reality as well. In our opinion, Unity is definitely the program that is the most beginner-friendly if you're looking to begin making your own XR application and begin your journey into the XR industry. We know that Unity is used to create over 60% of the world's AR and VR content, and it's also responsible for an enormous share of the broader content and application market. So it is definitely the biggest engine that is out there. In fact, the apps developed using Unity are downloaded about 3 billion times monthly. And I mean, the software is just borderless. It's used in over 190 countries globally. So, like anything, these applications, everything starts with an idea. From there, you need to build your assets and bring them into Unity and create immersive interactions using the C# scripting language that Unity uses. Once you're happy with your build, you need to leverage an SDK or a software development kit to ensure that your target device is compatible with your build. Once you've done all of that, you can render and publish your app, and there you have it. You got an application. Now, in terms of our academic offerings, we have an academic portfolio of free online workshops and webinars like the one we are having today, and also a variety of courses that we offer, which are all designed to help students learn how to build virtual reality and augmented reality content in the Unity engine. These courses are mainly for beginners, but we can also help the more intermediate or advanced students out there through our one-on-one sessions or team training offerings. In terms of our programs, we recently launched our Introduction to Unity 3D Development 8-week program. This is a live instructor-led program that focuses on Unity fundamentals and has students creating their own projects while they're learning. By the end of the course, students will have created and launched a fully completed application. So it's a great course for anyone who's looking to get more familiar with the engine and what's possible within the XR world. If you are looking for a more XR specific training, we also have our XR development with Unity program for developers, as well as our interaction design and prototyping for XR course for all of the designers or the design oriented folks who are with us today. The University of British Columbia Extended Learning will have cohorts starting on January 11th, and similarly, cohorts will be starting on the same date for any students who are affiliated with the University of Toronto School for Continuing Studies. You can take a deeper look at the XR development with Unity courses that are being offered by these well-established educational institutions by visiting their websites, which we will post and share with you guys shortly. Now, enough about all of those other learning opportunities. I don't want to take too much time. So let's talk about what you guys are going to be learning today. So in today's workshop, you'll learn how to use marker-based tracking in Unity, how to develop an AR scene in Unity, simple scripting using the C# in Visual Studios, best practices of creating good image markers, and lastly, how to get started with developing an XR portfolio. If you are familiar with the terms, that's great. If not, don't worry, you'll definitely understand them by the end of the workshop. And this concludes the my portion of the presentation. Again, I would like to remind everyone that the session is recorded. You will get a copy of the recording as well as all the resources that are in this session via email after the session is completed. I will mention that if the video quality is a little bit pixelated, it is just because we are sharing using Unity and kind of live streaming. But in the recording that you guys will receive, it'll be the good quality video, so don't worry about that. Now, without further ado, I'd like to take this time to invite Jerry up on the stage. It's an honor and privilege to have him join us today. Jerry, are you with us?
I think so. Hello. Hey,
Hello.
everyone. Hey, Rob. Can you hear me well?
Yep, you are coming in great on my end. If we
All
can get some
right. Let's see what.
feedback.
Okay, it seems like it sounds good. Hello, hello, everyone. Cool. All right. So I think we can get started. Cool. So I'll share my screen here. And before we join Unity, let me just do a quick introduction of what we're going to be seeing here today. Hope everyone is seeing that well. All right. So as we're introduced already, we're going to be learning a little bit about AR, augmented reality in Unity. And by the end of this workshop, we're going to have something similar to that. But basically, we have an image marker, like an image tracker, and we can place any digital content on top of that. So basically, that's the simplest form of AR that we see out there. We have an image, and then we overlay digital content on top of that. So this is what we're going to be doing. Before we jump into Unity, just to make sure everyone is with me and understands what we're going to be doing, let me just recap a couple of things here. So the first thing I would like to start with is some recommendations. So I know that sometimes it's interesting to follow along, but because it's a workshop and we don't have much time, what I recommend as a suggestion is that we don't try to follow along with me, that you just pay attention to the concepts, you make your good questions, you focus on what I'm doing and what they are, what the things are there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat or in the questions tab. In the end, I'm going to spend some time to answer all the questions. By the end, you're going to receive not only the recording that you can pause, that you can like try on your own, but also the project file. So you're going to receive a link to download the project. You can explore that. So I recommend that you add your own content to that after we finish. So I'm gonna be doing this that we saw here, but I hope that you can do something different, buy different assets or create your own assets and do that. So that's basically what we're gonna be doing there. So by the end, we're gonna have here. So we're gonna create a new Unity project. I'm gonna go over Unity Hub and how it works and how we create a project. All of the steps to prepare a project for AR. So here there are lots of tiny details and things that we need to install, and I'm gonna go over them and explain why they are, what they are, and why they are there. So this is where I recommend everyone focus on the explanation so you can reproduce that in the future for other projects in AR that you want to create. We're gonna go over image tracking, how we can identify the image and how we can place something on top of that. I will explore a couple of tools in Unity that you can use, for example, to create animations, to add sound, to create texts, what else? Particles to create snow. So I'm gonna show a couple of tools that are easy to use that can help you to create your own content. And then in the end, I'm gonna build that to the Android device so we can see it in Next. We can see that working in the end. So that's basically what we're gonna be doing. Before we start, we're going to be using a tool that is a free tool inside of Unity called AR Foundation. So if you have never heard about AR Foundation before, why we need this? So actually we don't need it, but it makes our life a lot easier because we have lots of different platforms out there. So we can have Android, iOS, HoloLens, Magic Leap, different platforms, and they work in different ways. So what AR Foundation does is basically creating for us an abstraction. So if we use AR Foundation, we don't need to know the specifics about Android or iOS or HoloLens. We just do it with AR Foundation. And because it's cross-platform, it just kind of works on the major platforms out there. So basically that's it. The advantage of using AR Foundation, we're going to do it once and deploy it multiple times for different platforms. The way our foundation works is basically, as I mentioned, like creating an abstraction. So this is kind of the Unity stack for XR. So on top, we have AR Foundation, which we're going to be using today. AR Foundation uses what they call subsystems. So for image tracking, camera detection, environment, like different features that we want. So we write that in AR Foundation. AR Foundation is going to communicate with the subsystems. And then in the end, the subsystems here are going to be communicating with the native providers. So we don't need to know the specifics about the providers. We just need to make sure that they are in our project. So that's why I'm showing this. So we know what we need to import and why. So just recapping, we're going to be working with AR Foundation so we can publish to Android, iOS, and other platforms out there. One of the things that we need to pay attention to is that not everything is supported the same way in all of the platforms. So today, for example, we're going to be working with image tracking. This is supported by AR Core that works on Android and AR Kit that works on iOS, but it's not supported on Magic Leap and HoloLenses, for example, because they work in a different way. So it's important to notice how the features are supported across the different platforms. So the basic ones, for example, like device tracking, know where a device is. It is supported in all of the platforms, but the other more specific features, not necessarily. So it's something that we need to notice. Today, we're going to be using image tracking. And that's it for now. I'm going to come over here in a while. Does it make sense? Does anyone have any questions? Anything that I can help with before we go into Unity? Or is it all good? Just thumbs up there if it is all good. Or thumbs down if it's not good. I'll just assume this is good. This makes sense. Perfect. All right. Great. Cool. So let's get started. We're going to open Unity Hub. So when you install Unity Hub, it's going to look something like this. Unity Hub is not Unity itself. It's just like an organizer for our workflow. So there are a bunch of different things that we can do from the Unity Hub. So the first one, for example, is adding multiple versions of Unity. This is something that if you have been working with Unity for a while, you probably will need to have like 2020 and 2019, maybe 2021, because you can explore with different versions, different features. So basically, if you want to add a new version of Unity, you can just click on add and install it from here. So it makes our life a little bit easier. We also have here projects, where we're going to have the list of all of the projects that we are working on. We can create a new one or add one from the disk. So what we're going to be doing today is just create a new one. When we click on new, there are two options here. So if we just click on new, it's going to get the latest version of Unity that you used before. So if you want to ensure that you're using the right version, you can click on this arrow here and just select one of the installed versions. So today, I'm going to be using 2020.3.25, which is basically the last one for 2020. If you don't have that version specifically, it's kind of okay. Just make sure that you're using 2020, because we're going to be using a couple of things that are only available there. So that's my recommendation for today's project, using 2020 something. Then when we click on the version, I'm doing that again, it's going to open this panel where we create a project. Here, there are some templates. Those are templates. They're basically like boilerplates for us to create different things. There is this AR boilerplate here, but being truly honest, I don't trust it very much. So we're going to be doing that from the beginning. We're going to do that ourselves. So we're going to be selecting 3D as a template. We are going to find where you want to save it. So I'm going to save it here, and which name you want to give that. So I'm going to call that AR Christmas card, something like that, and just hit on create. Usually it takes 1 minute or two. It depends on the computer. It depends on a bunch of different things. But now it's going to create the project there. No URP. Oh, that's a good question. Not necessarily. We're going to not work with anything specific. But if you prefer to use URP, that's all right. It's okay as well. So what is URP while this thing opens is the universal render pipeline. So basically, it is a scriptable render pipeline that Unity created for mobile device, for like the majority of the devices out there. It's stable. It's good. So yeah, you can definitely use URP. It's not a problem. I could use that as well, but I didn't. But that's a good question. So URP, you can use that when you're creating mobile applications or applications for computers that are not super high end. Whereas the high definition render pipeline, you're going to use that for ultra realistic applications. So it's heavier. That's the difference there. So if you want something there stunning, you have like a NASA computer, you can use the high definition render pipeline. All right, so let's see. Gary's typing there. Let me see if I can help before we move forward. How many projects can you put in one app? How many projects can you put in one app? Not sure if I get it. So in Unity Hub, you can have infinite number of projects as long as you have space in your disk. If that's the question, like on the Unity Hub, you can have as many projects as your disk allows. Is that a question, or inside of, let me see. Okay, I'll get back to it later just to confirm, to see if this is what the question was about. So if you have never seen Unity before, this is how Unity looks like. It's based on a couple of panels, so you can reorganize those panels, you can drag them around as you please. But let me go over the main panels here and what they are for, what do we use them. So the first one that we're going to see is this one called Scene. So this is basically our authoring environment. This is where we're going to create content. We're going to put 3D models, textures, everything that we create, it's going to go here on the scene. So it's basically like the world, the 3D world. On the right, we have the game. So the game is basically what the end user sees, because the scene is infinite. Like it's basically the world, it's completely unlimited, but our screen is limited. So not everything there is in the scene we can see in the game, in the final version. So here in the game is basically what our end user is gonna be seeing. This is determined by a camera. So every scene needs to have a camera that's gonna capture, like as a picture. It's basically like a regular camera. It can see something, it captures that, and then it draws that or renders that here in the game. So that's the difference between the scene and the game. This one is infinite, everything goes here. This one is what the camera is seeing at the moment. On the left, where I selected my camera here, this is called the hierarchy. So basically here is another way of visualizing the scene, but instead of visually, it's logical. So we can see which objects exist in the scene. So everything that exists in the scene is also in the hierarchy, but here we can parent objects and unparent objects. So we can like determine which objects control the other ones. We can see that later with more details, but that's what the hierarchy is. When we click on one of those objects that exist, for example, by default in the scene, we have the main camera and a light. If we select one of those are called game objects. Everything that exists in the scene is called a game object. If we select them, you can see the properties that they have in this other panel called the inspector. So the inspector here is basically where we can change properties of a game object. So if I select the camera, I can enable, disable, change the field of view. We can change different configurations of the camera. If I select the light, I can do the same thing, like disable, enable, change the color, change the intensity. We can play around with properties of the light. So that's what the inspector is about. So we covered the scene, the game, the hierarchy, the inspector. Now we have here the project, which is very important as well. So the project is like our folder system, our where we organize all of our assets. So if we import image, text, sounds, they're going to be available here in the project. It's basically like our folders for the project. It's like the organizer for the project. So those are the main ones. There are a bunch of other ones that we can see as we progress, but those are basically the ones that we always use. So just for you that have never seen Unity before, this is how it looks like. Is it all good? Does it make sense? Sure. Okay. Good. Sense makes. Perfect. Nice. So now let's get started and preparing this project for AR. So those steps, they are a little bit annoying, but we need to do them every time that you want to create an AR project. So it's very useful to know those things. So the first thing that we need to do, remember that we talked about having AR Foundation. So that's the first thing. We need to install AR Foundation into this project. So the way Unity works, when we want to install plugins or add-ons or stuff, well, we want to add more stuff, we're gonna go here under Window and then Packed Manager. So the Packed Manager is basically where we find resources and install them most of the time. So I'm gonna click here on Packed Manager. And then it's gonna tell me or show me all of the things that already exist in my project. If I change here where it says packaging project, I can change it to Unity registry. So it means that it's going to list everything that exists in Unity, even if I'm not using them. So we go under Windows, Packed Manager, and then if it's not Unity registry, change that to Unity registry. Now, as I mentioned, we need to install AR Foundation. So I'm going to search for AR Foundation. And here it is. I can click on it and click install. On the package manager, usually we can expand the package and see older or other versions. There are many different versions there. The recommendation is to use the verified version unless you need something specific. So here they have like 4.2, 4.2.1, but those are not verified. So we're going to just install the regular verified version. So this is the first thing that we need to do in order to start preparing this project for AR, installing AR Foundation. That's the first thing. While finishing installing, let me get my slides here back. The second thing that we need to do is to install the providers that we need So if I'm making this project for Android, I need to install something, which is AR Core, that's going to make it work for Android. If I want to make that work for iOS, I need to install ARKit, and so on and so forth. So we need to install and enable those things. How do we do that? It's also in the Package Manager. So I'm going to go under Window, Package Manager, and then search for, I'm going to be working with Android today. So in this case, I will search for AR Core. So AR Core is for Android, ARKit is for iOS. So if you want to have ARKit, you can also search for that, and you're going to see that it's here. ARKit XR plugin. In my case, AR Core. AR Core XR plugin. So I'm going to hit install and install that thing as well. All right. So now we have, if we go back to our stack, we have AR Foundation installed. We have AR Core installed, and that should be it. Now we need to enable those things. So I see some people typing there. Let me see. How's it going there? All fine. Questions, problems, anything that I can help with? I see many people typing and no texts. Would I need a Mac in order to test out the changes for ARKit iOS? Yes, you would. So that's a thing with iOS. You cannot build to iOS devices from a PC. So if you are targeting to build for iOS, you do need to have a Mac with Xcode. Yes, that's why I'm not doing that today because, well, I don't have a Mac working here. So I'm going over the Android process, but you're correct. Denison, when we install the Unity 2020, what else do we need to install? There's always a lot of options. Not sure which we don't need. Oh, that's a really good question. Let me go here. So when we go over installing a new version, so let me click here, for example, and say that I want this 2021, which I don't really need. It's going to show here a couple of different things. So what I strongly recommend you to install is Microsoft Visual Studio, because that's what we use to edit our codes and scripts. So that's like, you need to have that. Other than that, everything is optional. So say, for example, you want to work with Android, as I'm doing today, you can enable Android build support. If you want to work with iOS, you can enable iOS build support. If you want to work with, well, let's say Magic Leap, if you have one, you can just click on Lumen's OS for Magic Leap. So everything here is optional, actually, but I recommend that you build, that you install Visual Studio, because you're going to need that, and that you install Android build support at least, so you can test things on Android. When you pick AR Core, does that mean you will only be used on Samsung? No, not really. Oh, on Android, or could you also later? Oh, that's a good question, Amari. That's a really good question. So you can later come here and install ARKit as well. You can have both in a single project. That is not a problem. So right now, I'm not installing it because I don't even have a Mac. I'm not going to build for Mac. But if you want to use the same project and build for Android and for iOS, that's all right. You can install both. You can install both. Yeah, everything that we do today is going to work for both of them. Perfect. All right, let's get back here. So really good questions there. We installed AR Foundation, we installed AR Core. So now we are almost there. We're not quite there yet. We need to do a couple more things. So now we need to change some of the settings here in this project to make sure everything is all right. So we're going to go under File, Build Settings. So File, Build Settings. Because Unity is a multi-platform tool, you need to select like what target platform you're using. In my case today, it is Android. So what I'm going to do is select Android and click Switch Platform. This is something that I recommend you do before you start adding assets, because the texture formats, everything is different from platform to platform. So Unity needs to convert everything over. If you have a big project, this can take forever. So I recommend that you do that as soon as possible. David says, I really like the progression of explaining why you need certain package install when you develop a. Oh, cool. I'm glad you like it. So that's the main goal of today. So everyone knows what we need and why. I'm glad that's working out for you. So that's what I did, file, build settings, and then I changed it to Android because in my case, I'm gonna be building for Android. If you are working with Mac and iOS, you just switch to iOS and that's it. So that's the first thing. After that, we need to go under edit, now project settings. And here we need to do a couple of things. So the first thing is we already installed our subsystem, but we didn't enable it. So we need to go here. So let me repeat this. We go under edit, and then we go under project settings. We click on XR plugin management. And then in my case, it's Android. So I'm gonna enable ARCore. That's just it. If you are working with iOS, you need to enable ARKit. That's basically it. Why we need to do that? Because Unity is very cross-platform. So Android, how can Unity know that I'm building an AR project, not a VR project? Because I'm enabling ARCore, not Oculus or something else. So that's what we need to do here. Cool. One last step before we actually go into the production of our content. Because Android is a little bit picky, there are a bunch of different configurations in Android, we need to change some things for ARCore to work. So we're gonna go under Edit, Project Settings again, it's the same panel I was. We're gonna click on Player, and here, there are a couple of things that we need to do. Every time that we are building an ARCore application for Android, and this is only for Android, so if you're doing iOS, you don't need to do this. First one is removing Vulkan from the list of graphic APIs here. So what does that mean? Well, ARCore doesn't support Vulkan, so we just remove that. If we don't remove it, when we try to build, it's gonna complain, and then we need to go back here and remove. So Vulkan is just like the newer graphic API that runs on the GPUs, and it's amazing, it's fast, but ARCore doesn't work with that yet. So we need to remove this. This is the first thing. Second thing is the version of the API level of Android. This is usually very confusing with Android because there are a bunch of manufacturers, they're doing a bunch of different things. So they change that very often. For ARCore to work, we need to make it available only for API 24 or later. So usually what I do is I just change the minimum API level to 24. So what it's gonna do is basically avoid that we try to install this application on an Android that doesn't support AR. So from 24 onwards, all of them support AR. So that's basically what we need to do here. And that should be it. I think we don't need to do anything else. We covered the first part of the workshop, which is basically how do I configure, how do I change this project for AR. So Emily asks, this seems like a lot of steps to get started. Can we set it up once and save it as a template? Yeah, you can. You can basically, now that I don't have specific content here, you can save this as a boilerplate and just duplicate that. You can do it. Yep, you can definitely do it. I recommend that. That's a good question. CF request iOS version of this workshop. So everything else is the same. Everything else is the same. So just this last step here is specific for Android, but other than that, everything is the same. Creating the project, installing the package, what we're gonna be doing now, everything is basically the same. But yeah, the next one I can bring a Mac and we do that on an iOS, but basically it's the same process. All right, yeah, I agree. It's a lot of steps. It seems like a lot, but it's necessary. We need to do it just to make sure everything is working well. If you do that once and save this as a template, that's a good strategy. But I would like to make sure that everyone is on board with what it takes to make an AR project. Nice. So that's it. Let's go back to our content now, which is the interesting portion, which is the nice portion. It's what we are looking for. So now that we have the project set up, we can start preparing our scene. So this scene, we need to have a couple of components. they're basically they're basically related to AR projects. So then the last setting was under identification under player. Yeah, it goes under edit, project settings, and then player. They are here under player. That's where they are. Cool. So now we need to prepare the scene for AR. How does AR work? The device is gonna request access to the camera, and it's gonna render the camera inside of Unity. So the first component that we need to have in an AR scene is what we call an AR session. So basically, what the AR session does is just like enabling AR in our project. So it's just gonna request access to the camera and turn on the camera and start an AR experience. So every time that we are using AR Foundation, we need to add to our scene an AR session. So let's do that. I'm gonna just right click here in the hierarchy, and then I will go to XR and select AR session. And that's it. We don't need to change anything. It just needs to live in the scene. So once it is in the scene, it means that our scene is gonna be an AR scene. That's the first thing. So how I did that, right click, XR, AR session origin. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not yet. XR, AR session. That's it, the first one. So the second one is, the second component is the AR session origin. So when we are dealing with AR, we can move our phone and the camera is gonna move, and we need to make sure that we are translating the orientation and the position of the device to something virtual back in Unity. So what does that is the AR session origin. It's gonna translate the device position and orientation to the transform of something in Unity, the camera in Unity. So that's the second thing we need to add. The process is the same, right click, XR, and then AR session origin. And there we go. So what do we have under AR session origin? Some components called AR camera. So this AR camera is just gonna basically capture what is in the word and bring that inside of Unity. So considering that we're gonna be using AR camera, we can delete the main camera from the scene. I'm gonna delete it because I don't need two cameras. I just need the AR camera here. All right. So this is the process that we do every time we're creating a new AR project. We have the scene, we're gonna do that. Create an AR session, create an AR session origin, delete the main camera if it exists. Right now, we have an AR project. If I build this, what happens? It just shows the camera because we didn't add any component. We didn't add any content. So now we go to the content portion of the thing. The way AR Foundation works is based on trackable components. So everything in AR, when we are using AR Foundation, is going to be called a trackable. There are many different things that we can track. We can track planes, for example, surfaces, a table. We're not going to be using that today. We can track features, which is basically like, well, if there is an object somewhere, we can track faces, we can track bodies, we can track a bunch of different things. Coordinates like geolocation coordinates. Today we're going to be using with image tracking. So the way image tracking works is we find an image, identify that image, and then we can place something where that image is. So what we're going to be doing here to enable that, the first thing is in the AR session origin, I'm going to add a component called AR, how is it called again? Image, AR Tract Image Manager. So AR Tract Image Manager. All right. So this is under the AR session origin, add component, AR Tract Image Manager. What this component does is basically it tries to look for images that we have in our environment. So it can be, for example, today, our Christmas card. It tries to find the image in the environment. Once it finds the image, it starts to track its position and orientation over the life cycle of the application. So that's basically how image tracking works in there. What we need to provide to this image tracking manager, basically we need to provide two important things. The first one is which image it's going to look for. What are our, which image we want it to track. So in my case, the card, the Christmas card, which Christmas card. If it's a business card, which business card. So we need to provide which image we are looking for. We're going to see how to do that. And we also need to provide what to place in that image. In our case today, the Santa Claus, the elves, whatever we want to place in there. So those are the two things, and it's very basic. Which image to look for? Once I find that image, what do I place where that image was located, where I found that image? Does it make sense? Is it all good? Making sense? Questions? Thumbs up, thumbs down? See some thumbs up there. So far, so good. Perfect. All right. Great. Amazing. Cool. Happy. All right. So let's go. All right. So what do we need to provide here? As I mentioned, we need to have image. Which image we want to track, right? So the way we do that is creating what they call in XR reference image library. So we need to do that. How do we do that? Give me an elf. I will. Give me a minute and I'm gonna give you an elf. So I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna right click here in the project. So in the project is basically where we create all of our assets. I'm gonna right click here, create, and then I will go under XR reference image library. So if we select the AR session origin where we added the AR tracked image manager, it requires XR reference image library. So that's what we need to provide here. So I will create one. Right click, create, and then XR reference image library. There we go. So now it created one image library for us. In an image library, we can have as many images as we want to track. So when we select the reference image library, we can go here and add multiple images. So I'm gonna just click on add image, and it's gonna request that I have one image that I wanna track in the environment. Yes, Joseph, you're gonna receive the recording and the project. Yes, that's true. Cool. All right. So important facts about the image here. I already selected one. Where did I save it? So here, I selected this image. So this is going to be my Christmas card. That's the image that the camera of my mobile is going to look for. It's going to try to find in the environment. So that's the image I want to use. How do I do that? First, I need to import this image into Unity. So I will create a folder here called image just to make it organized. It's not mandatory. They can be anywhere. Okay, no worries. No worries. You're going to receive the recording. You can go over that, pause, and watch as many times as you want. So under my image here, I'm going to import this. How do I do that? Just drag it. So now I dragged it, and it exists in Unity. Now I can go back to my reference image library, and here I can select which image I want to use. And the one I want to use is this Merry Christmas here. A couple of very important things about the image. Considering that the algorithm needs to identify this image, there are some specific things that this image needs to have. So the first one is contrast. So you can see here that my image, we have like dark and light, dark and light, dark and light. So if it has more contrast, it's gonna work better. Another thing is it needs to be it needs to be easy to identify that this image was rotated. So it cannot have like repeated partners. If you get like a square, if you rotate a square, it's the same. You don't know what's the orientation. So when you're selecting an image, it would be interesting to find an image that has like contrast. That's the first thing. Second thing, not lots of repetitive patterns. Otherwise, it's not going to work well. And the color of the image doesn't matter. So I see lots of people like getting images with a bunch of different colors. just to make sure that they have contrast. This doesn't make any difference because the way the algorithm is going to see it is in grayscale. So the color is completely ignored. So if your tracking is not good, like you try to find it and it's taking long or it's flickery, probably you have a bad image. So you need to experiment with images until you find one that works well. All right, so I'm gonna be using this. I already added it to my Merry Christmas thing here. I added that to my, where is it? To my reference library. One thing that I like to do is specify the size of this image. What does it mean is that I'm gonna say which one is gonna be the physical size of my marker in real life, the physical size. So say, for example, your card is like 20 centimeters. You can just go here and put 0.2 because this says in meters. So for people in the United States, they're not very used to meters. Unity works with meters, so you need to convert things. But this helps the algorithm to find your image a little bit better as well. So it's a good thing to do, which is basically just specifying the size here. If you have the size, this is not mandatory. So if you don't have the size, it's all right. It just helps it a little bit. All right. This makes sense. So now what I have is an image reference with the image I am trying to track. I can go back to my session origin and just drag this library here. So remember that I mentioned we need two things. I mentioned we need to have two things. One is the image, and now it's done. The second one is what do we want to make pop when we find this image. So Dr. Joe said, I Google 4.25 inches to meters to get a value. I do it the other way around every time. So, well, I'm very used to meters, not to inches and to feet and all that stuff. But yeah, I need to convert every day. So cool. So now we have the first portion. And now we get to the exciting part of the things. I want to make 3D objects appear where this image was identified. So that's what we need to do here, which is basically say which prefab we want to instantiate when that image appears there. So let me show you how I usually do that. The first thing that I do is creating a new empty game object that I'm going to name AR content. The name doesn't matter. The name doesn't really matter. It's all right. I just call that anything. An empty game object is basically a game object that is like a holder. It just exists in the scene with a position and a rotation, but you cannot see it because it's empty. But you can add content as children of this. So you can add like different pieces of content under this AR content. So that's what I'm going to do. First thing that I always do is I want to visualize the size. When we're dealing with AR, the scale is very important because we're placing things in the real world. So we need to make sure that the things are aligned, that they have like the proper sizes. So the first thing that I'm going to do is a representation of the card. So how do I do that? I'm going to create something here that is basically like a plane. So I'm going to right click, create a 3D object, and then I will select quad. So a quad is basically something like this. It is a plane. And I will make this the same size as my card. So if I go back here, when I created my card, I told it that it is like 0.2 or 20 centimeters and 0.12 or 12 centimeters. So in my quad, I'm going to do the same thing. So this is going to be 0.2 and this is going to be 0.14. Doesn't need to be perfect. If you want to be like very precise, you can do that. It's not going to make a huge difference. And that's it. So this quad is going to represent the area of my marker. So it helps a lot when we are developing and designing this thing. So right now, this quad is facing forward. It's just like looking at me. But usually people are gonna, well, unless you're making like AR in a frame that is on the wall, you don't want it to be facing this way. You probably want it to facing up. So you can just rotate it around the axis by like 90 degrees. So now I can imagine that this thing is basically my marker, my surface. Another thing that I always do just to guide me is to apply a material here with the same texture that I'm using for the marker. So I can see where the things are. So if I want to like spawn the elf or the Santa in a very specific position, I can do that and know where it's going to land. So how do I do that? I'm going to create a material. A material is basically something in Unity that defines how an object should look like. So I right click, create, and then material. I'm going to call that card. And then in the material, we can add image or textures here in this albedo property. So I'm going to click here, select this, and now I can just drag this material to my card. So look at that. Really beautiful. So now I can start placing my 3D objects, the things that I want to pop up in relation to this here. So say, for example, for some random reason, I want to have like a sphere that appears in the nose of the reindeer. I can just do that. Considering that everything needs to be at scale, this is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. I can make that a lot smaller. Let's say, for example, 0.1, 0.1, 0.21. And then I can position this thing relative to my marker. So that's basically how we do it. And now we have 3D content that's going to be overlaid on top of an image marker. That's basically it. You can visualize where the things are going to be because you have this reference here. And later on, you can basically just disable this quad. If you don't want it to show, you can just disable this quad. Does it make sense? Let's see if I have questions there. How to place a snowball. Oh, I can use a texture. Can I see where to select the material once again? Yes, let me create the material again. So anywhere under the project, you can right click, create, and then you create a material. You give it any name. So I'm going to call this card material. So this is the material. You can add a texture to it by clicking on the albedo property. So I just click on the albedo property here, and then I select the image that I want. So you just drag the material onto the plane. Perfect. So Onkar, that's a really good question. Can you use Sketchfab models to overlay in AR? Yes, you can. So how do you do that? You just download them from Sketchfab and you import them into Unity. So let me show that. Say, for example, I downloaded and I already have a couple of modules here. I'm going to import them into Unity. Wait for them to finish. Oh, no, I didn't think it would take that long. Go, 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 go. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that to finish. So yes, for people that are wondering, like, oh, where can I get modules or content? If you don't know how to build them, you can go to the Unity Asset Store. You can go to Sketchfab. You can go to any of those and just download them. Suppose download module from Sketchfab are huge. Is there a way to reduce the module for AR? Yeah, you need to have to do that in a different software such as Blender or Maya or something like that. So just in Unity, that's not something easy to do, David. Gotta get going. Thanks so much, everyone. Can't wait to see the rest of the later. All right, okay. Which is the best format to import? FBX format is the best one to import. That's the one that works the best. You can also use OBJ, but FBX is the recommended one. So GLBT, I don't know. I don't think Unity supports that, does it? I think Unity doesn't support GLBT. I might be wrong, but it didn't. It didn't support that. I'm not sure if they changed it, but I don't think so. I don't know. I wouldn't go with that. I would go with FBX and OBJ. Cool. So now that I have like some modules here, like basically when you import an FBX, now you can just drag those and they are there. So you can basically bring any modules that you want. So I got some modules here, for example, my Santa Claus. And what I usually do is, remember that we want it to be relative to the quad here. So I'm gonna get my module, make that a child of the Santa Claus. This is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. Remember that my card is very tiny, it's like 20 centimeters. So I will just change that to 0.2, 0.2, and 0.2. Or if you want it to be even smaller, you could, like let's say 0.05, 0.05, oops, 0.05. There we go. So now it's basically the way I want it to be. You can rotate it if you want it to look up, not here. If you want it to look the other way, you can just like rotate it 90 degrees, or actually 180 degrees. And there we go. Looking at your GitHub page, which files has your little sprite? Which little sprite? Which one do you mean? The one I just placed. Oh, this guy here. It's under Christmas. Let me see how it's made. It's under Christmas Toon Kids, which is the package I'm using. And you can go under Christmas Toon Kids and then prefabs. You're gonna find it. It's called Santa Claus. You find it there? Christmas Toon Kids. That's the folder there. Okay, perfect. All right, that's it. So here you can basically add anything you want. They can be animated, like this Santa Claus is basically animated. So you can see that it's gonna animate and whatnot. So from here, you can add any kind of content that you wanna add. So usually when we're making Christmas cards, we want to use animations like this one. We can use text. So if you wanna add text, you can basically go here, right click, then you go under 3D object, and then you can select this 3D text, for example. So this is basically a 3D piece of text that you can scale down and write what you want to write in there. You can change the font. We can basically play around with that. And you can write wherever you want to add in there. So basically, now the sky's the limit. You can basically add any type of content that you want to add in there. That's basically how it goes. So you can add text as we added here. You can add more 3D objects from wherever sources you find. So if you download something, you can add them. The last thing in terms of content that I want to add here is a particle system. So say, for example, I want to make like it snow. We can create something that is called the particle system. So we can click under Effects, Particle System. Particle system is basically a component in Unity that throws particles away, and you can texture or change them. So we could potentially just change the size of the particles here. The way the particle system works is basically on different components that you can enable and disable. So the shape, for example, is the shape of the emitter. So if I change that to a cube or a box, I can determine like the area. Oh, this is the position. The area where it's gonna spawn that, and then you can, well, maybe rotate it, not here. Here, so it goes down. we can either add that on top of this, or you can add that to the camera. So if you want like the entire scene to have particles, you can just add that as a child of the camera, position that on the 000. So it's gonna be on the camera, and you're gonna have like the snowflakes here. I think it's too close to the camera. You can basically move it a little bit. So that's up to you. Now that you can create any kind of contents in there. And this is the process. So I just would like to go over the process of having here. So now what you're going to add here, it's up to you. You can play around with different tools. In the project they're going to receive, I played around with a couple of different things. I added some sound, some animations. But basically, that's it. So now that we have this AR content, there is just one last step missing, which is basically dragging that to the project so it becomes a prefab. So usually I create a folder that I call a prefabs, and I would drag it from here to here. What a prefab is basically something that you can replicate. So I can like drag this prefab as many times as I want, and it's gonna be like always the same, just to demonstrate what it is. But actually, what we need to do to that prefab is add it here to this tract image prefab. So basically, we just drag whatever we want to place here. So what happens now is when I build this application to my Android, every time that it finds the image that is in this resource, it's going to place whatever prefab we have here in the same position with the same orientation of the image. So if you rotate the image, the Santa Claus is going to rotate as well. So that's basically how it goes from here. So now everything is in place. We have the project set up. We have the template for the content. We just need to add the content. And then when we build, we can see that. So the last thing here would basically be building it. So if I have an Android device, and I do have one, I can plug it. Unity is gonna show me which devices I have connected. It's just thinking because I just connected the device. There we go. So we can see here, oops, no, it doesn't show it yet. Refresh. There we go. So it shows my device here. I just need to hit build and run, and it's going to run it. So it takes a while, sometimes like 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm gonna invite Ro back to stage just to wrap up the workshop. And I will hit build here, and I will come back to answer all of the questions and show you the final results. And we can troubleshoot if someone has any other questions. Well, let me hit build and play here and invite Ro back into the stage. There we go. I will be back in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Jerry. That was great. I'm sure that the audience has learned a lot today, and I can see that we've had some questions while Jerry was going through the workshop. I mean, he did a fantastic job of answering them on the go, but we do have a few questions in the questions tab that we will get to in a few moments. I'm just going to take a few minutes here before we re-invite Jerry back up on stage. Let him build that project and everything, and grab a glass of water, take a breather, and then we will have him back on stage. Also, as a reminder, again, this session is being recorded, and everyone will have access to the recording and project files shown today. And then finally, I do want to again mention that shortly I will have a poll up. If everyone could navigate over to the polls tab, as I've got one to drop here shortly. It would help us a lot if you could answer that poll for us. It's just on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend this workshop? It allows us to, you know, put together more awesome workshops like this one for you guys. So if you could go in there and answer that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Also, I wanted to run through a bit of our course information. If you've enjoyed today's workshop, we'd love to have you continue your education and your learning journey with us. My favorite part of hosting these workshops, other than the technical session, of course, is to show off some of the amazing work that our students have created over the years, whether it's, creating a Unity scene, building an interactive AR experience with Vuforia, or scripting mind-blowing experiences. Ultimately, we love to help out our students along their learning path and, help them achieve amazing things. On screen, you'll see just a few examples of our students who have gone on to carve out a career in the XR industry after learning at Circuit Stream. I would also like to introduce our brand new self-paced course for app development. This one is a little bit different than all the other courses that we have offered. It's a 6-hour video course that allows you to move at your own pace and will provide an in-depth guide on how to build your first app for your profile. Again, we do have the Introduction to Unity 3D Development program as well. This is a project-based 8-week live instructor-led course focused on Unity fundamentals, and it has students creating while they learn. By the end of the program, you will create and launch a full application, and the next upcoming cohort for this program is on February 14th, 2022. Then we got our XR development program. This is, again, a beginner-friendly program as well. It is 10 weeks long, project-based, and it is also live online and instructor-led as well. This will focus on making AR and VR applications in Unity with 3 hours of instruction per week, lifetime access to both the class recordings as well as the 5 office hours per week. Additionally, with our plus package of this program, you will also have 10 hours of one-on-one time with our experts, which can be used for both personal projects or course material. This course is available through us directly with the cohort starting on February 15th, or through any of our local university partners such as University of British Columbia or University of Toronto. Just keep in mind that with our university partners, the cohort start date is actually on January 11th for both UBC and U of T. And lastly, we have our interaction design and prototyping for XR program. This is also a beginner-friendly program, 10 weeks long, instructor-led, and the main focus of this program is to design experiences for AR and VR. Much like the XR program, you will have 3 hours of instruction per week, lifetime access to both program or to both class recordings and the 5 office hours per week. And you also have the option of 10 hours of one-on-one time with our experts through the plus package of the program. Now, one of the parts that we get a lot of questions on is the certification. So I wanted to share a simple visual to give you guys an idea of the certification path for each of our beginner-friendly programs. The Introduction to Unity 3D Development course will reward you with a certificate of course completion, as well as the opportunity to earn a Unity user certification that is built into the cost of your tuition. The XR Development with Unity program will help you achieve Circuit Stream's XR Development or XR Developer certification, excuse me, and it will give you the knowledge to be able to obtain the Associate Programmer certification offered by Unity, and you can get that certification by taking the exam through Unity. And lastly, the Interaction Design and Prototyping for XR program will help you achieve Circuit Stream's XR Design certification. And another interesting thing that to note here is that the above certifications and certificates will also be available through our university partner. In the case that you do opt to learn through our university partners, you will also earn a certificate of completion from the university partner in question. And here at Circuit Stream, beyond the lessons themselves, we've also created a very robust community of XR learners. We're very proud of our community. All of our students and alumni get lifetime access to all of the material and recordings from class, in addition to lifetime access to all of the perks associated with our community. Um, our student experience coordinator, Lucy, uh, she facilitates a lot of extra office hours, support groups, demo days, and just so much more. So, again, all of our programs are beginner friendly, so we don't require any prior experience or knowledge of the XR industry. So, if you are a beginner, have no fear. These programs are designed for beginners as well as intermediate and advanced learners as well. So, I'm sure many of you are wondering about the tuition prices for our courses, so I'll take a minute to discuss the financial side of the programs as well. We offer two different packages for both our XR development and the interaction design and prototyping for XR program, in addition to the Unity 3D development course and our new self-paced course that are sold individually. The starter package includes your 10-week program of your choice, while the plus package includes an additional 4-week program on the C Sharp scripting fundamentals for Unity, as well as the 10 hours of one-on-one time with our experts that I mentioned. One thing to keep in mind, all of the prices that you see on screen are in US dollars and they represent the regular tuition cost. And not shown on the screen, I mentioned our Introduction to Unity 3D Development program. That program has a regular tuition price of $2,500 US, and our new self-paced course will be offered at only $50. Quick word on the university tuitions. The starter pack and the plus packs are sold for the same price as you see on screen now. The only thing is that our Canadian university partners process their tuition in Canadian dollars. But to access that pricing, you have to live in the province where the partner is located. Now, on the topic of finances, we do offer payment plans for our 8-week and 10-week programs, both for the starter and the plus package. So if you prefer not to pay full all at once, you are more than welcome to take advantage of our 3, 6, or 12-month payment plans. On screen, you'll see our admissions team. There's myself, Leanne, Tyler, Christina, and Brendan. We're a bit different than other companies when it comes to our admission. We're extremely involved in the before, during, and after part of your registration process. So, we're here to help answer any questions you might have about the financial side of things, your learning goals, your career goals, anything about, AR, VR, Unity, any devices, and so on. You can reach out to us directly through our website, or if we've already connected with any of us before, you can reach out to us that way as well. Now, feel free to head over to the learning page on our website or any of our affiliate partners' websites to learn a little bit more about each of our programs, to download the syllabus, or submit an application to enroll so that a member of our admissions team can reach out to you. And now I will invite Jerry back up on the stage. I know, again, we had a few questions to answer, so perfect. There is Jerry.
Hello. All right. So before I go into the questions tab, let me try to share. Let me try to share what's going on here. It's always a challenge because this thing is running on my computer and the other one is running on the phone, but I think it's gonna work. 1 second. Share screen. There we go. So here I'm using this software that just like mimics what's going on my computer. So there we go. So this is how it works. Like basically, oops, we have the marker. So I'm using this on an iPad, but it could be, oops, it could be a printed version. So basically, you just need to have that image somewhere. And then when I point there, it's basically finding the image and adding the same prefab that we have to the image. So that's what I was mentioning about, like it tracking the position and the rotation. So if I move this thing, it basically moves what the card has, and you can add like a bunch of different stuff in there. So that's it. That's the final version of the thing. You can basically add any kind of content, and it should work just well. So let's get to the call to the questions. Let me stop sharing this thing here. And let me drag this to the other side here. Just organize myself. Cool. So how do you want to do that? We just go for upvotes.
Yeah, I mean, we can start. I think there's in the questions tab, I think I count 7 questions if I'm not mistaken. So we'll start from the top and
Is
then
it working?
we'll
Am I?
go from there. Perfect.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Can you still hear me and see me? I see him
We can
frozen.
hear
Is
you,
it just
but
me?
you're frozen. Your video is frozen.
Oh no. Something wrong. Is it who's frozen?
You,
Refresh? Okay, I will.
yeah. Okay, so we'll have Jerry back here in just a minute. If you guys have any more questions, again, feel free to post them in the questions tab. We will bring them up one by one and have Jerry answer. Oh, there he is.
There you go. Oh, I thought you were frozen because everything was frozen. I was like, oh, not sure if it's me. All
Yeah,
right, good.
perfect. So I'll start one by one, Jerry.
Okay.
We'll bring them up and then we'll go from there. So the first one is, hey Jerry, can we export to WebGI and detect the image to render the AR image?
No, not really. Not with AR Foundation. So AR Foundation works on top of those providers that I mentioned in the beginning. So it doesn't export to WebGL, unfortunately. Not using Open AR Foundation. No, the answer is no.
Okay, perfect. And then the next one, got recommendations on plugins from the asset store for content or ease of development for AR?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know that David was it David asking? I know that
Yeah.
they were discussing that on the community. I don't know what's hot at this point. What I recommend is checking the sales because they usually have sales and things. But I think it depends on what you're planning to build. So I don't know. That's hard to answer. It depends on what you're planning to do. if it's a if it's a Christmas thing, maybe you need to wait. No, probably not the best time to buy Christmas assets, but I don't know. They usually have some good sales, seasonal sales, so it's just like a good thing to check often because you might find something that you are interested in. But they have so much content that I think it depends a little bit on what you're planning to build.
All right. So the next one we have is got an export workflow to distribute your AR app to send to your friends.
That's a good question. So if it is iOS, the only way is to get it approved by the Apple Store, and you need to be a developer. So you need to pay like a fee per year, and every time you update, you need to submit it to them, and they're gonna approve, and then your friends can download that from the Apple Store. If it's Android, there are two ways you can do it. So the first one is going through the Google Play, which I think is the best one because your friends are going to be able to find it and install it and update it, and you have statistics. You also need to pay a fee, but it's just once you pay to become a developer, and that's it. Or if you don't want to, you can build the APK and distribute that directly to them, like just sending it to them via email or something like that, or you can publish that on each IO. So for Android, it's a little bit more open, so you can distribute that directly or through the stores. So I think the best way to distribute finished apps is through the stores because you have support and all that.
Okay. We are flying through these ones. All right. Next up is you can create one without the image tracking. Just press a button. The app detects the planes and your AR appears thereafter.
Yes, so that's plane manager or plane management. This is another thing that you can do. AR Foundation does support that. So today we wanted to focus on image tracking because it's like an AR card. So the idea is that you just place that on top of a card. But we do have some workshops I can't remember which ones, but we do have some workshops that cover plane tracking. So yes, you can do that. It just detects a surface and then you spawn the thing on the surface. That's possible.
All right, and the next one from David as well. Can you put in different images that each can point to a different 3D model to appear?
Yes, you can do that. In AR Foundation, that's not so simple. It's not that trivial, unfortunately, at least not at this point. You need to write some scripting for that. So every time that the AR Foundation detects an image, it's going to trigger an event in C Sharp, and you can subscribe to that event and just check the name of the image, and then you place one or the other prefab. So it's possible to do, but all of the box as we did today, not really. It's you need to write some scripts.
All right. Then next one we have Dennison. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Is it easy to connect the Android device like your last step before hitting build and run? And no, this not. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah, that's not a stupid question. Actually, that's a great question. It's easy. The only requirement is that your Android is on developer mode. So how do you do that? It depends. In every phone, every model, and every manufacturer, that's going to be a different way. So you just look like what your device is and Google how to enable developer mode in this specific module. That's the only requirement. Once you do that, it's going to work fine. So if it's not on develop, that's actually a really good question because I didn't mention that. So if it's not on developer mode, Unity is not going to be able to see it. So you need to enable developer mode.
All right. And I am new to AR and have loved your videos. Thank you very much, Gary. My question, let's say I create an app for the Christmas business card or t-shirt. How many AR Christmas business cards or t-shirts can I put into one app, or do I have to build an app for each Christmas business card or t-shirt?
That's a good question. No, you can have only one app. Then you need to have some scripting to detect like each image goes to each card or how to switch between them with a button or something like that. You really need to have some scripting. Actually, you can have many. It's not unlimited though. We created that image library. You can only have 2,000 images in that, which is a lot. So I don't think it's a problem. But you can only have 2,000 images in one image library. So if you need more than that for some reason, you need to have multiple image libraries. So that's a requirement. There's a problem there. And if you want to track like more than one card simultaneously, AR Foundation only supports 20. So I never seen an application where you need to detect like 20 images at the same time, but that's the maximum that AR Foundation can do at the same time. But if it's like you point to an image, another one, then you can go to the 2000 that can be supported in the image live. Is it 1000 or 2000? I think it's 1000. Well, it's a lot. Yeah, you can have a lot in the same application. You don't need to have one application for each card. No.
Alrighty, and then next question is from OnCard. Do we have to have the mobile device connected to the PC at all times?
No, you just need to connect that when you need to build. So I basically connected that in the last minute just to build. So no, not really. You just connect that in the end just to build.
Perfect. And Adamari is asking, when we scan the card, do we need a certain app or do we have to have our phones connected to Unity?
That's the app that we created. So that's the app. Once you hit build and run, it's going to generate an app, and that's the app that goes to your phone. So actually, you don't need to have Unity connected, and you don't need an external app because you are building the app. So when you hit build and run, that's what happens. Unity is going to pack your project into an app, and that's it. It's a good question.
Perfect. And then the last one in the questions tab from Mark. To view the 3D Christmas card, are you supposed to be putting on the headset to see the 3D effect?
No, so today we are dealing with AR, so it's just mobile phone. As I showed in the very end here, you just point your phone to the marker, and you're gonna see that through the screen and the camera of your phone. So today we didn't go over VR, so no headset, no headset. It's just mobile. It's
All
mobile.
right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jerry. That's all the questions that we had in the questions tab. If there's any more, please feel free to submit them. But we'll give a few minutes. I don't see anyone putting anything, and I'm just going to check the chat section as well. I don't think we have any more questions. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Jerry, for this amazing session. Happy holidays in advance, and we will see you guys in the new year.
All right. Thanks everyone for attending. Anything, if you want to join our Slack community and ask more questions there, feel free. And that's it. Happy holidays, and I see you soon.
Oh, actually, I think we had a couple more questions come in last
Oh,
minute.
oh,
All
okay.
right.
Let's do them.
Yeah, I think we had two more questions coming in. Um,
Okay.
let's see. So after build and run, how many steps are there actually?
No, no more. So when you hit after and build and run, you just need to wait, and then Unity is gonna generate the APK and just send that to your phone. It also saves the APK in the folder, so you can use that to Google Play or to deliver that to someone. But after you run, you hit build and play, you just need to wait for Unity to finish doing this stuff. There are no more steps there.
All right. And then the last one from Monty, but had you chosen to do the Oculus option, would you need an Oculus to view it?
Yes, but the thing is, Oculus is a VR headset, and today we're dealing with AR. So the application that we built today is not suitable for the Oculus. We need to make something different. So today it's all about augmented reality for mobile devices. So if you build to Oculus, it's not going to work properly because the Oculus cannot detect the image. The Oculus doesn't have a like it does have a pass through, but it doesn't work this way with the AR Foundation. So this application that we built today, it's not suitable for Oculus. So if you're interested in Oculus, we have a bunch of other, like we have the museum, we have some other workshops that are more towards VR. But for today, this application is not, it doesn't work on the Oculus. It's just for mobile devices.
Alrighty, perfect. So that's the end of the questions. Again, reminder to everyone, we will send out a recording of this session. And like Jerry mentioned, if you guys have any further questions, please utilize our Slack channels, and we have all of our experts in there as well, and to answer all the questions. Again, thank you very much for joining the session today. Thank you again, Jerry, and everyone in the background answering the questions in the chat. And happy holidays. We'll see you guys in the new year.
Bye.
Bye,
Happy
everyone.
holidays, everyone.